Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, in this session I am going to solve the doubts sent by the students, and I would suggest you just see the question, pause the session and try to solve it on your own. Okay, so let's take the first one. Now friends, let's solve this problem from 3D mensuration. A conical whistle with semi-vertical angle 30 degree and height 10.5 centimeter has a thin lid. A sphere kept inside it touches the lid. The radius of the sphere that we have to find out. So I have drawn a rough sketch over here, rough diagram over here. This is the cone and this is the sphere, and the radius of this particular sphere we have to find out, right? And this sphere is touching the lid of this cone, right? Now height from this point to this point, that is given to us as 10.5 centimeter. That is actually the height of the cone. Okay, now this is the radius of the cone, this is height of the cone. So, and one more thing, this semi-vertical angle, that is 30 degree, is given to us. So what is semi-vertical angle? This angle. So this is actually 30 degree, right? Now you can see this right angle triangle. This is perpendicular because this is the radius and this is the height. So angle between the two is right angle. So this is right angle and this is right angle triangle, right? Now using these two, we can find out the radius and this hypotenuse of this right angle triangle, right? Radius means this base. This is actually perpendicular, so we can find out the perpendicular and hypotenuse of this triangle, right? And perpendicular of this triangle is nothing but the radius of this cone. Okay, now relationship between these two, r and 10.5, this is perpendicular and this is base. So relationship between this and this will be given by tan theta, right? So here theta is what? 30 degree. So tan 30 degree 1 by root 3 is r upon 10.5, that can be written as 21 by 2, right? So that gives us r as 21 by 2 root 3. Okay, so this length is 21 by 2 root 3. Now we have to find out the radius of this sphere. Suppose this is the center, so this will be the radius of the sphere, and this is the tangent to the sphere. So the angle between radius and tangent will be 90 degree. So this angle is 90 degree, right? Now this, suppose this is O, P and Q. OP and OQ, both of them will be having the same length because these are the two tangents from a single external point, right? So OP or OQ will be same. So if it is 21 by 2 root 3, this will also be 21 by 2 root 3. That is radius of this cone. Okay, now in this triangle, suppose this is MQA, we can find out the relationship between, this is suppose capital R. So relationship between R and AQ will also be, we can also find that using the same trigonometric relation. This is perpendicular, this is base. So tan 30 degree, that is 1 upon root 3 is equal to R upon AQ. Okay, and similarly we can find out the complete length OA. This OA is hypotenuse and AP is base. Okay, so base and hypotenuse, the relationship is given by cos theta. So cos 30 degree, that is root 3 by 2 is equal to 10.5, that is 21 by 2 by OA. Okay, so OA is 21 by root 3. Now you can see this entire length is 21 by root 3, that is OA, and this length is 21 by 2 root 3. That means this length, the remaining length will also be 21 by 2 root 3. Okay, so AQ is 21 by 2 root 3. So I put AQ over here 21 by 2 root 3, right? So easily now only unknown value R is there, so that can be calculated. So that is 21 upon 2 into 3, that is 7 by 2, that is 3.5 centimeter, right? So easily this problem can be solved. The important things that you have to keep in your mind over here is what is a semi-vertical angle, and just do not get confused. This is the radius of this sphere, and it will not be parallel to this line. Most of the students get confused over here. They just make this line parallel to this. So this parallel line and this parallel lines, but this is not the radius of this sphere, right? So do not get confused over here. That's really important over here. So we just have a quick recap. This is the height of this cone, and the semi-vertical angle is given. Relationship between this height and radius can be calculated using tan theta, tan 30 degree. So R can be calculated. Similarly, from this and this relationship is given by cos theta. So using cos 30 degree we can find out OA, and the third is this triangle. So relationship between this and this is given by again cos theta. We'll be using tan theta. So using tan 30 degree we can calculate the unknown value R, right? So if you're conceptually clear, this problem can be easily solved in 1 minute, right? Now this question, what is the value of sine 105? See, sine 105 can be written as sine 60 plus 45. Now sine A plus B is actually sine A cos B plus cos A sine B. So that is sine 60 cos 45 plus cos 60 sine 45. That is actually the formula that I am using over here. Sine A plus B is equal to sine A cos B plus cos A sine B. It's not that the distributive property you are using over here, that sine 60 plus sine 45 you can write. That's incorrect. Sine A plus B is sine A cos B plus cos A sine B. Now sine 60 is root 3 by 2, cos 45 1 by root 2, cos 60 1 by 2, sine 45 1 by root 2. So that is a root 3 plus 1 upon 2 root 2. That is the value of sine 105, right? Similarly, suppose you have to find out the value of say sine 15. So what you can do is instead of 60 plus 45, what you can use is 60 minus 45. So 60 minus 45 is 15. You can calculate the value of sine 15, right? In that case, sine A minus B will be sine A cos B minus cos A sine B. So over here it will be this, and this will be replaced by minus sign. So this way you can calculate the value of sine 15 as well. Okay. Now this second question based on probability. If there are two children in a family, find the probability that there is at least one girl in the family, right? A particular family we are talking about. So what we do is, first of all, we assume both of them are boys, right? So the first one is a boy, the probability will be 1 by 2, and the second one is also a boy, so the probability is 1 by 2. Now both the events are independent of each other, because if the first person is, whatever is the first person, maybe a boy or girl, that doesn't put any impact on the other, right? Second may be boy, second may be, or it may be a girl, right? So both the events are independent events. So I put a multiplication sign. So 1 by 4 is the probability when both the children are boys, right? So if we want the probability of at least one girl, what we can do is we have to deduct this from 1. Total probability is 1, and out from 1 we are deducting the probability when both the children are boy. So in the remaining cases, at least one will be the girl, right? You can approach it the problem in other way also. One is girl. See, first is girl and second is boy. So first is girl, the probability will be 1 by 2, and second is boy, the probability will be 1 by 2. Or now this is a separate event and the next one is a separate event. First is boy and second is girl, right? Or third, both of them are girls, right? So if you add, you'll be getting 3 by 4. So you can go this way and this way, right? No difference is there. This is the smaller approach. Here we have taken the 3 cases when first is girl, second is boy, first is boy, second is girl, both of them are girl, right? Over here we have calculated when both the children are boys, and from the total probability we deduct this case, so we get 3 by 4, right? From a well shuffled pack of 52 cards, 3 cards are drawn at random. Find the probability of drawing an ace, a king and a jack. Okay, you are fine getting just drawing 3 cards, right? So the total number of cases is 52C3, right? And now we have to find out the favorable cases. 4 aces are there, 4 kings are there and 4 jacks are there. And we have to draw 1 ace, 1 king and 1 jack. So from 4, 1 ace is drawn. From 4 kings, 1 king is drawn. From 4 jacks, 1 jack is drawn, right? So that is 4 into 4 into 4 upon 52 into 51 into 50 by 3 factorial, so that is 6. You just have to solve this and you'll be able to get the answer. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now see this problem. 4 cards are drawn at random from a pack of cards. Find the probability of getting all the 4 cards of different number. See, there are 4 suits. Each suit has 13 cards and each number is there for 4 times in the cards, right? There are 4 aces, 4 kings, 4 jacks, 4 queens, 4 ones, 4 tens and something like that, right? So in all there are 13 types of numbers, right? 4 ones, 4 twos, 4 threes, 4 fours, 4 fives, still 4 x's, right? So 13 types of number. Now the total number of favorable cases for the total number of cases will be 52C4. Now when we draw the first card, it can be any of the type out of 13 types, right? So 13C1. Now we want the same number once again, so we are left with 12 choices now. Suppose for the first time we are getting a 10. Now we don't want a 10, right? So from the remaining 12 numbers, remaining 12 types of numbers, we need to draw one, right? Similarly, getting my point? First time, suppose we are drawing a number A, then second time A should not be there. Second time we are drawing B. The third time A and B should not be there, so we are left with 11 choices. For the third time, suppose we are drawing C, then we are left with 10 choices. A, B, C cannot be included in the fourth case, right? So that's very simple. 13 into 12 into 11 into 10, just solve it. 52 into 51 into 50 into 49 by 4 factorial, that is 24. Just solve it. (17) into 5 into 49, we have 264 by 4165. 85 into 49, yeah, 4165. Okay, so that's simple. Now friends, let's see this problem based on simple and compound interest. The present worth of 19683 due 3 years hence at 8% compounded annually is, okay, we assume that the present amount is P, right? And the rate of interest is 8% and it is compounded annually. So the total amount due after 3 years will be 1.08 cube, and that is actually 19683. Now you have to find out the value of P, right? Now that is really very simple. You can see all the options A, B, C, D over here. All the options are integral values. No fractions are there, so definitely 19683 will be a perfect cube number. So you can easily find out the cube root of 19683. I have already explained the method of finding out the cube root of perfect cube numbers, right? If this number is ending in 3, the cube root will end in 7 and the first 2 digit 19, so cube root will be 27, right? And the cube root of, then this is P cube root is equal to 27 by 1.08, right? We have taken cube root of both the sides. So this is this. So cube root of P is 25. So P will be 25 cube. Okay, that is the principle or the initial value. Okay, so what is 25 cube? That is 15625, right? So that's pretty simple. No, none of these is there, so you can proceed it this way. Now this question, the difference between the compound interest and the simple interest on a sum of money for 3 years at 10% per annum is 620. What is the sum? So friends, after attending so many sessions, I expect that this sort of problems you should be able to do mentally. You don't need paper and pen to solve this sort of problems, right? You have attended the basic sessions of interest, you have attended the sessions of data interpretation, so you should be able to do this, right? And do not try to make actual calculation over here, right? You just you can see the options A, B, C, D quite far from each other, so you just try to get the around idea of this particular sum, right? Now for example, I take option C. Suppose the smallest value that is given over here is the 10,000, right? Now 10,000 is the sum. So 10% per annum simple interest after 3 years, the simple interest will be 30% of 10,000, that is 3,000 rupees, right? And if we talk about compound interest, that is nothing but interest on interest, right? So it will be interest on 3,000 rupees, that is 3,000 is simple interest and compound interest will be interest on this 3,000. So around it will be 300 or 325 something, right? So the total interest will be around, I'm not getting the actual calculation, I'm just getting the around idea. So the total compound interest will be 3,300 or something, and the simple interest is 3,000. So the difference between the two is 300, 325, 330, something like that, right? But we want the difference to be 620. So 10,000 is not the correct answer. Now in case of 10,000, the difference between simple interest and compound interest is around 300 to 325. So in this case it will be around double. In this case it will be around 4 times, around, not exact, because that will be a bit different. And in this case it will be around 12,000. So our answer is, our difference is 620. So that is around double of 300 or 320, right? So the correct answer will be 20,000, right? So no need to go for any sort of paperwork over here. Just apply bit calculation skills over here, and you should practice with your basic calculations. Okay, let's take the next one. Now this question, again very simple, no need to go for any sort of paperwork. How long will it take a sum of money invested at 5% simple interest to increase its value by 40%? Increase value by 40%, that means as of now, suppose the value is 100. So after a particular duration we want 140, right? Now 5% per annum. So simple interest is same every year. So from 100 to 40 we want 40 increase. With 5 every year we need 8 increase. So after 8 years. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Simple interest remains same every year. I have told this thing so many times in my simple interest sessions. Okay, so just be careful about it. It is hardly a 10-second question. Let's see this problem. Out of a certain sum, 1/3 is invested at 3%, 1/6 at 6%, and rest at 8%. If the simple interest for 2 years is rupees 600, the original sum is. So simple interest remains same every year. So for 1 year, the simple interest will be 600 by 2, that is 300, right? Now suppose the amount is x. So x by 3 is invested at 3%. So x by 3 at 3%. So 3% is 3 by 100. Plus x by 6 at 6%. So this will be the interest, plus remaining x by 3 plus x by 6 is x by 2. So remaining x by 2 at 8%, and this is the total interest, and that is actually 300. So we have to find out the value of x over here. So 4x plus x 5x and x 6x. 6x is equal to 300 into 100. So that's 5,000. Pretty simple. 3 years back, a sum of money was remitted in the bank at 12% per annum simple interest. The accounts are now cleared. The bank paying a sum of 6800, what was the sum originally invested? I assume the sum originally invested is rupees X. Now bank is paying 6800, so original amount plus simple interest, right? Now simple interest over here will be 12% per annum, so for 3 years it will be 36%, right? So it will be 0.36 of X, right? Original amount plus interest is 6800. Now you have to calculate the value of X. So X is 6800 upon 1.36. So that's, and so for 50 into 100, 5000. Okay, precisely your calculation is 6800 by 1.36, so that is 5000. Okay. Priyansh borrowed rupees 5000 from Sudhakar at SI. After 3 years, Sudhakar got rupees 300 more than he had given to Priyansh. What is the rate of interest? So that's pretty simple, right? 300 he is getting in 3 years, so per annum he is getting 100 rupees. So 5000, 100 is what percent of 5000? That is 2%, as simple as that, right? So 2% is the rate of interest he is charging. Okay, just a very simple thing. Simple interest remains same every year. For 3 years he is getting 300, that means per annum he is getting 100. So 100 is what percent of 5000? So that's 2%. Okay. Next, this problem, which year next to 1990 will have the same calendar? That's a pretty simple question. 1990, whenever we have to do this sort of question, we assume any particular odd days for this particular year. Suppose I assume 0. You can assume 1, you can assume 2, any number you can assume. There is no necessity to calculate the exact odd days for year 1990, right? That's just wastage of time, right? So I assume in 1990 there is 0 odd year. 91, 92, 93, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003 and so on, right? Now in 1990 if it is 0 odd year, in 91 it's non-leap year, 1 odd days, 1992 1 odd days, 93 1 odd days, I'm sorry, 92 is a leap year, so there will be 2 odd days. 93 1 odd day, non-leap year, 1 odd day, 1, again 2, then 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1 and in 0 4 2, right? Now in 1990 we have a 0 odd days. Now we have to say check when we get 0 odd day once again, right? So it's 1 plus 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, right? So 8 is 1 odd day, 8 divided by 7, 1 is remainder. So again 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. 7 means 0 odd day. Okay, so 1990 0 odd day. If 1990 0 odd day, 2001 again will be 0 odd day. We are taking 0 for reference only. You can assume it to be 1 also, 2 also. In this sort of question, when we have to check which next year or the previous year will have the same calendar, you can take any number of odd days over here. The only condition is the same number of odd days you have to check for the next coming year or previous year. Okay, that means the years which have gone. Okay, so here in 1990 if 0 odd days, in 2001 still again we are getting 0 odd days, so calendar of 1990 and 2001 will be same. Okay, once again you can calculate for more years, 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14, right? So it's 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 2 1 1. Again we see when we get 0, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So again in 2007 the calendar will be same. Again 2 3 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we are getting 7, but the calendar cannot be same because 2012 is a leap year, so the calendar of 2012 will not be same. Again we have to check from 2013. Okay, just be very clear, both the year should be either leap year or non-leap year. A leap year calendar cannot be matched with a non-leap year, right? So 1990 calendar will be same as 2001 calendar, will be same as 2007 calendar. Okay.